Hey everyone, welcome to today's Know How at Noon. My name is Bronwyn. I'm the Head of Service Delivery here at Process Automation at Fujifilm Business Innovation. And I'm really excited to introduce Jo, or Joanne, who is our Customer Success Manager. She's going to take you through some tips and tricks for Esker over the next 30 minutes. Just before we kick off, there is a Q&A button at the top. Feel free to enter your questions in there. We'll answer them as we get to the end of the session. And following the session, there is a follow-up survey. Would really appreciate it if you filled in the details for that. It really helps inform us for future Know How at Noon sessions and include content that is valuable to you all. Like I said, feel free to ask the questions. If you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it, so don't be afraid to raise the question. Otherwise, reach out to the support team after the session if you would like to schedule a training event, and the team can take you through it in more detail as a customized session. All right, over to you, Jo.
Yeah, thanks, Bron. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Know How at Noon session for May. And this session run monthly, and they're designed to share practical tips to help you get more value out of your Esker. And as mentioned, today's session will focus on quick tips and tricks you can apply right away in your day-to-day work. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if we have time, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So today we'll go through a series of quick tips across different areas of Esker. So this includes user settings, invoice visibility, reporting, and workflow tools. So the lists on the left are intended for the end users, while the lists on the right are intended for admins. So just note that it might look different on your end because it depends on what version of Esker you are in. Right, so let me start off with the first tip, which is for user profile and access settings. So let me start with the personal web appearance, which is located at the setup menu under the personal information. So from the setup menu on the upper right, you click on your personal information. And from there, scroll down at the end of the page and you will see these three options. So for this session, I would like to highlight three options here. One is the display. So display items in the list. So this option defines how many items should you be displaying on each page of the list in tabs, so such as invoices. So this will actually refrain you from clicking the scroll horizontally, so you have more invoices on the lists in one page. Second is enable text wrapping. So by default, this column content in the list is automatically wrapped when it's too long. So you can clear this or untick enable text wrapping list to disable the text wrapping in the columns. Enable colorblind friendly mode. So best practice is to enable this one. This is just an option to add, the status icon to the color indicators used for errors and warnings displayed on your form fields. Second, on the user profile and access settings would be the access permission. So access permission, using this procedure, when you click on access permission, it actually grants the technical support team members or the authorized partners across access to your session without handing them your password. So how it looks like, once you click the access permissions, click allow access, and that gives the technical support team a connection to your session. Click on that, and then by default, the access is granted for a month. For a month, same day the next month, and you can change the date until which you grant access to your session. And to do so, click the button to open a calendar and select the date of your choice, and the date is immediately taken into account. Second tip is using view filters and buttons effectively. So filters are one of the easiest ways to improve the efficiency in Esker. So it helps you quickly narrow down the large volume of invoices. So you can apply conditions like equals, contained, start with. So filter by dates and also customize what you can see on the screen. So if the filters are not sufficient, so currently on the screen you can see 4 filters. You can actually add more filter by click on in the add button or the plus button. Okay, and date filtering is also especially useful when you're focusing on a specific time frame. For example, if you're reviewing invoices for a certain period or investigating an issue. So it's a quick way to reduce noise and focus on what really matters during the time. So what you do is you click on the 3 dots there and then select the date range as needed. You also have options to be very specific or faster way, just select last week or this month or last month. Another tip under using view filters and buttons is you can actually click on anything on the columns like invoice number, invoice date, invoice number, invoice date, amount, tax amount to open an invoice. And you can also interact directly with the data in your view. So for example, clicking on the invoice number or amount will take you straight in the document, and you can also rearrange the columns to suit how you prefer to work. So these small changes can really improve your day-to-day efficiency when processing transactions in Esker. Tip number 3 is understanding invoice fields. So there are features in Esker that allows you to see how Esker reads and capture data from invoices. So for one tip is from the invoice form, you will see on top of the screen the parameters drop down. So click on the parameters drop down and then click on the display origin. So after this, you will notice that the invoice fields look different now. So it will become gray. And when you hover over the field, you can actually identify where the values are coming from. So for example, for this value, the invoice number, it's coming from Synergy Neural Network. It was automatically detected by Esker. And while the example here for the supplier number, value subsequently edited by the user. So it means that someone or an end user edited the value in the supplier number. And these values here that were edited by the end user is also available under the change history. Another tip is to click on the specific field. So this is where you can trace where exactly the value comes from. So when you click on that, you can see on the right-hand corner or the document preview, there's a pop-up, a blue pop-up saying that this invoice amount field is coming from this value from the invoice form. So this makes it much easier to investigate errors and also understand how the data is being populated. You can also use recognized text behind the invoice. So from the invoice, you can click on the View Recognize Text um, radio button there. And this helps you understand what Esker is seeing during the data capture. So if you have any issues or you're troubleshooting extraction issues, this is very helpful for you. So from there, once you click the View Recognize Text, you will notice that the text will be highlighted. And that would show you how Esker reads the text from the invoice. So for example, on the left side, it says facture, and on the right side, Esker captured it accurately how it's written. So this is, again, very helpful when you think that there is something wrong with the instruction. Redacting sensitive information. So if you need to share information or documents externally, you can actually redact sensitive information using our black highlight tool. So what you do is you click on the black highlighter and then highlight the information that you want to hide. So this allows you to securely hide confidential details before sending the documents out to other users in Esker. And if ever you need help, you can always click the question mark icon within Esker. So I'm sure every one of you have noticed these icons while using the solution. So please feel free to click on that because we highly recommend you utilizing this function as this will give you access to relevant documentation and also guidance. So once you click the question mark, you will actually be directed to the relevant documentation. So if you are, for example, in the company code tables, once you click the question mark there, you will be routed to the relevant documentation about company code table. So you don't have to search. It will give you the documentation related to it. And you also have an option to ask question, and with the help of AI, answers will be provided with the link of the relevant documentation. So for best results, we recommend you selecting the relevant module here so that the responses are tailored to that specific area. And one thing's amazing here in the Esker documentation is you have interactive and video tutorials. So interactive is like you doing the work by step, following a step-by-step guidance from Esker. And you also have video tutorials wherein you just watch how it's done in Esker. So these are all available in the Esker documentation page. And please feel free to bookmark it in your browser. So every time you need help, this could be your level 1 support. Okay, going to the admin tips and tricks. And number 1 is backdating the out of office or OOO. So out of office settings usually apply only to future documents, right? But however, one of the tips is actually you can backdate the out of office date and time to ensure workflows to continue smoothly. So this is useful if you have been away and need to reassign approvals. So know that you can do that. And active users versus user properties. So it's very important that we ensure that your active users and the user properties tables are aligned. If they don't match, it can possibly cause issues, with workflows, with user assignments, and also DFAs. So best practice is if you create a new user, add the user to the user properties as well. Exporting a view. If a report isn't available in Esker and you need it as soon as possible, your boss said, I need the report now, but there's no report available. What you can actually do is export a current available view. This is a great alternative for that. You can apply filters or your condition, and then click on the export button on the upper right, on the right side, and then there will be a export in progress pop-up window there. The file will be available in My Downloads. So you can click on My Downloads link and it will route you to the page where you can extract the report from. Okay. And if you miss that pop-up, you can actually go to your setup menu and then go to My Downloads. And just change the drop down to My Data Downloads so you can extract the report that you just tried to extract on the view. And then click the download button to get your CSV file. All right, so schedule task management, you can actually run a scheduled task instantly using the run now option. So a lot of people have the impression that you have to wait for this to run, but actually you have the run button there. So please feel free to use that if you need to trigger the task as soon as possible. And if you need to, you notice that the schedule of the task is not really satisfying your requirement or your business requirement, you can actually change the schedule of the task under recurrence. So just update the task schedule there and click save. So you should be able to update that. Right. There is also a workflow simulation. I think this is the last for admin. Workflow simulation is this one allows you to test and validate workflows before applying them. So it's a great way of confirming if you're set up without impacting live processes. So best practice is to start in QA or in the test environment. And once it's fully tested and confirmed working, you can create the workflow in the production environment. So first, you go to the workflow rules, and then you click on the test button. And then you input the information of the workflow you would like to test. And then you scroll down because there will be a lot of fields that you can actually test. You have to scroll down at the end and then click on the simulate workflow. So it will actually show you what rule was applied to those conditions or to those information that you input and what are the workflow steps. So this can ensure that your workflow will correctly work in the QA and also in your production environment. Okay, so that brings us at the end of our session. And if you have any tips and tricks of your own, we would like to know about it. So please feel free to share it in the chat. So now I'll open the floor for any questions.
Hey Joe, we've had a question from John here at Arvida. He's asked, with regards to backdating out of office, is it required to ensure all invoices sitting with an out of office approver are correctly delegated to a selected delegate? For
Yep.
example, if an invoice is dated the 1st of May 2026, but the out of office only starts from the 10th of May 2026, will the delegate not be able to see the invoice dated the 1st of May? Does that make sense? It's a
Yep.
lot
Yep.
in, yeah, got it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah. So the invoice date is 1st of May, but the OOO only starts from 10th of May. Will the delegate not be able to see the invoice dated? Yes, that's correct. That's why it's important to backdate the OOO so that you can or backdate the out of office so you can be able to view those invoices that were previously ingested in Esker before the out of office.
Any other
Yep. Any
questions? I've
other
got nothing
questions?
else in writing.
I mean, if you don't have any questions right now, and if you have a question after our session today, please feel free to send us an email. Send me an email, Joe and Ty, and we will be able to provide you answers to your questions.
Awesome. Thanks
All
everyone
right.
for your time.
Thanks everyone for your time. So yes, just again, there is a survey form here. So please complete this quick questionnaire before the 26th of May, 5 p.m. to help us improve our future webinars. And as a small thank you, one of the respondents will win a Brunt umbrella, which is perfect for the New Zealand weather now. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.